Yep.
Looks good. I don't know if you want to check over the phone, make sure it sounds okay.
Sure. I should have brought my earbuds.
Okay.
USB-C? No. There, your earbuds.
Those special ones.
Did you tweet it out?
Yeah.
I gotta stop hitting that.
I did. I used the share feature on
Twitch?
the Twitch thing, yeah. So, did it work? I don't know.
Okay, just say words.
Words. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, we can hear.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, it's as good as it's gonna. Maybe more centered. Hopefully it doesn't cause any weirdness with the two mics.
I'll see if it does. I mean, I can do this. And the lines are straight, so it doesn't really interfere with anything. So,
Hopefully.
yeah.
Didn't even pick up, hopefully.
It did, and I just turned the gain all the way down so we don't get any of the backup sound. The lines are straight, so it doesn't really interfere with anything. So.
Hopefully. No. Didn't even pick up, hopefully. Alright, just gonna check Twitter just to make sure.
Morning, Sean. How are you?
Okay, cool. Did you put it on Facebook?
No.
Okay, I'll do that.
It wouldn't let me. It wanted me to put it from my main profile. It wasn't being very nice.
Don't do that voice. It's too early for voices.
Awesome. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Sure. Morning, White Spy. How are you, bud?
Oh my god, this website I'm using for the recap is just horrendous.
You get a little bit of time.
No, I think I got it. Just you mark one ad off, and then it just gives you like 3 more in its place.
Right. So we know when you're ready.
Yep.
Okay. Alright, I'm gonna hit record on our lesson. Welcome to E3 Day 2, I guess. Day 2, Monday. We're gonna recap Monday stuff.
Yeah.
Again, it's Tuesday morning. So today's Tuesday, right?
It's Tuesday now, yeah, because we leave in a couple hours for E3.
So we're going to go over the Bethesda press conference, the Square Enix press conference.
We did Bethesda.
But not Bethesda. Ubisoft press conference.
Yeah,
I don't know what day it is, so yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to go over Ubisoft, I was going to say Bethesda again.
Wow,
Ubisoft
you really
and
want to
Square
talk
Enix.
Bethesda.
Yeah, I don't know why. I'm getting my days confused. But we are live on Twitch, so there's a couple of guys in the chat watching. And if you guys want to catch us, we're trying to broadcast every morning. So it's like 8 o'clock in the morning here in California. So that's like 10, 11 o'clock for most of the East Coast.
Yeah.
But we're going to get right into it. We have a couple of appointments to recap as well, that we went to see some stuff yesterday. And then today the show really starts. So this is when the show floor opens and we get to go in the convention center and hit most of our half-hour increment appointments.
Yep. Just running around hall to hall through the crowds of people. Public again this year, so it'll be fun.
All right, so we'll do the press conferences first, and then we'll just briefly go through the stuff that we saw.
Yeah.
So no big deal there. All right. So Ubisoft was kicked off their press conference with showing off an Assassin's Creed Symphony. Mm-hmm. It sounded pretty cool, like an orchestra.
Yeah, it sounded cool.
So it was a lot of the music, and they had like a montage of all the other Assassin's Creed like cool moments and things like that were happening. And then they announced like a world tour for that. And I think I only saw like 2 U.S. locations, like San Francisco and Los Angeles.
Yep, which was super disappointing because I would have gone if it was in Chicago.
Yeah, so, but hopefully that'll end up being like on, I'm sure that'll be on like on YouTube or something like that. So, and then they went right into the tightest sealed game that we had never even heard about.
Oh yeah. They didn't have any sort of leaks for any of their games.
So we saw they revealed Watch Dogs Legion. It's set in London with all the Brexit stuff going on, and London is at a turning point. So the UK has become a heavily under surveillance city. So typical basic Watch Dogs etiquette of whether it was going all the way back to the first one, the surveillance and the hacking, and then even the second one, like they're continuing like the DedSec story.
Yeah.
And they're touting something pretty large here. Like, so you're going to build a resistance, and you can play as many heroes as you want, and recruit and play as anyone. Yeah,
any NPC in the game has a backstory, has an origin story, and ideally fully voiced, or they said fully voiced.
Yeah.
It's
some pretty broad statements.
Yeah. It's really ambitious, and it looks cool if they can execute on it. Me and Dave were talking like on our walk home of just where the shortcuts are, because there has to be some shortcut somewhere, because it's too ambitious to be fully realized, or at least as far as I'm concerned. But it looked cool what they showed. Right.
So I mean, pretty much what it's saying is that you can just you can do like the hacking like you do all the time, where you're walking by and you see somebody, and it'll actually give you the preview they showed. They were looking for a guy with like drone ability.
Yeah.
And it was showing like their pros and their cons of each person's ability and what they can do.
And at one point, the character saw like an athlete, and he's like, "Well, that's not what we're looking for. Earmark her for later."
Right.
And the AI that's helping you, your Jarvis or whatever that is, is like, "Okay, we'll earmark that for later. Let's go find this drone guy."
Yeah. So and then they showed off some of the combat and things like that, and then they showed like what everybody loved, like controlling the granny. Mm-hmm. And like her like slowly climbing over rails and stuff like that. And then there's permadeath. So when you lose one of your characters, I saw some things that showed like a level 15 character and a level 12 character. And then when they die, they're gone. So my concern initially from that is like the balance, like you and I talked about, like how many characters do you have? How many are you switching back and forth and playing? Because if you get permadeath and your character was level 20 and your next one's like a level 4.
And if they do a good job with giving each NPC a personality,
pros and
cons, you're going to get attached to an NPC. And you're going to want that NPC
Or I feel like you're going to get attached to a style of NPC.
Yeah, and then you'll burn through all of those styles. And we don't know if it's like randomly generated traits are attached to specific NPCs to where you kind of have roll of the dice whether you'll get that type of character again. So we need to see how that is going to work out.
We are seeing it this week. We do get some hands-on time, you or I think it's me. But we will definitely check that out. Hopefully, like, I get an interview and I get a chance to ask some questions like that. Ubisoft's been really good about interviews and stuff like that lately. I know I have one for, like, Division 2, but I'm almost, like, kind of already know what's going on with that.
Yeah, but I would hope when you're in a demo, you do the logical thing I would do, kill yourself as many times as possible.
But that's how you break games.
Exactly. Though, you need to find out now. Like, just keep killing yourself. Yeah. Just keep jumping off a bridge and then picking a new character. Like, what happens if you run out of characters before you can recruit new characters?
Yeah, I think it probably... I don't know what it does. I bet you that your AI just finds another person for you. Yeah. I would assume. Or there's, like, a backlog of, like, of quiet DedSec people.
Okay, yeah, because they would have to have thought of that. Someone's just like, I'm just going to kill every NPC.
Maybe it won't even let you play the next one. Maybe it won't even let you, like, progress an objective until you recruit one more.
Yeah.
You know, when you're down to your last one. So, and then they showed the release date of March 6, 2020. So that spring 2020 just keeps getting worse and worse and worse.
Ridiculous. It's scary.
And then they brought, and my wife gives me crap about this all the time. I'm terrible with names. I didn't write his name down, but they brought one of the stars from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia on the stage.
Yeah, they brought not Dennis, not the Mac. They brought Mac from Always Sunny. I forget his name.
Yeah, and they announced a partnership with Ubisoft for a television show called Mythic Quest.
Yeah, exclusive to Apple TV.
Exclusive to Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus, which means as soon as they said Apple TV, I kind of just zoned out. It was like, oh, okay.
The show looked funny, I mean, but at the same time, like, I think even, like, Glenn said it in our Slack chat, he's like, I'm not paying. Like, the show looks cool, but I'm not paying for another service for this.
I like the actor, but, like, I'm not paying for Apple TV. And it seemed weird to pull him out for that, but I guess, he's probably using their studio space maybe, and he, like...
Yeah, supposedly they were trying to, like, say that they're going to do the game development show right, like, true. And it didn't look like that already.
No, yeah. That probably lasted like 5 minutes for the contracting to dry.
Right. So, and then they moved back to games again. They talked a little bit about Rainbow Six Siege, which I forgot the game is 4 years old and already has 13 seasons.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They didn't give a player-based number, but the competitiveness of that game is just like top tier to the point where I'm like, I'm not playing that game.
No, I tried, and the people that are still playing it are very passionate and very good.
And then they announced the new season stuff, the new operators. It kind of gave like a Kingsman, James Bond kind of feel to it for the character. So that was cool. So if you're into that, I just recommend watching the trailer because the way the operators work is they're attached to seasons, or you can unlock them with currency that you earn from playing, and I totally don't understand how their seasonal stuff works right now. And then they announced a merger with Adventure Time and
Brawlhalla.
I was going to worry about saying that wrong. And they've also said there's 25 million players playing Brawlhalla.
Yeah, it's a free-to-play game on Xbox, PC, and PS4, so it's going to have a shit ton of people. Yeah. It's basically like...
You really liked it for a little while, didn't you?
No, I tried to. Okay. I tried to get into it, but it's a Smash Brothers, but off-brand Smash Brothers. But now they have some brand attached to it. No more Selene the Vampire Queen from Adventure Time, which is a little disappointing, but I guess Finn and Jake would be okay. Yeah,
and then the expansion or whatever, the update to Adventure Time is available now. Mm-hmm. And then they showed off Ghost Recon Breakpoint, which comes out October 4th. So thankfully, again, that's not coming out in spring of 2020. Yeah. You're facing it off. They went more in depth against who you're going against. You're going against former Ghosts that call themselves the Wolves. And then they announced that AI teammates are coming back. So I know this was a concern when they first revealed Breakpoint. Like, if I'm a solo player, am I going against this mob of people like by myself? And in Ghost Recon Wildlands, you had the ability to have 3 AI characters with you because it's a 4-player co-op game, and you could control what they do with like the D-pad and stuff like that. So it sounds like originally when Breakpoint was coming out, they weren't going to do the AI characters, and now they're doing the AI characters. So that got a pretty good thing from the crowd. And then they announced something called Delta Company, which is just how they want you to submit feedback to them.
Yeah, it just sounded like a forms.
Yeah, like a really cool forum name.
Yeah, there's different badges in the forums. It was basically a glorified forum, though you would think it was something cooler based on all the woos and screaming.
Become part of Delta Company.
Like,
tell us how bad our game is.
I just imagine whoever was like, before she even said anything, was like, and we're announcing Delta, and then someone already was wooing and screaming. I'm assuming that's a community manager for that Forbes, because it made no sense. Because Ubisoft is pretty upfront when you're there, like where the devs are and people that work at Ubisoft. They're like on the balcony in the corner.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And so they announced the beta coming early September 5th. You can register at the website for that, and then new content and free updates for the game continuously. So this is just pretty much a common Ubisoft treatment of a game. And then they talked about like a Terminator Live event.
Yeah, that's the third game Terminator's popped up in this
Second
weekend.
Or third for sure, yeah.
Gears, and then Mortal Kombat was teased
really?
for a couple days before E3. So Terminator licenses just going everywhere right now.
So I don't know if that's those companies going to Terminator or if that's Terminator going
Terminator
everywhere.
has to be going to companies. It's like, hey, we have a movie.
Yeah.
It's going to be bad, but can we put the Terminator?
Yeah. So then they moved on and they did...
Hold on.
Oh,
you didn't mention Bam Bam.
Okay.
Jay Barenthal's dog that he brought on stage.
Oh, okay.
The villain.
I don't think I could see him.
He was on the screen. Yeah. It's funny. I thought we got really good seats because before we sat down bottom, but we were behind the camera crane, and I was like, "This isn't going to work good." So I go to the balcony. I'm like, "This is a perfect view," and everyone stood just a little off from our view.
They were standing towards the front of the stage, which meant our overhang of the balcony. We couldn't see them. So.
Yeah, but Shane from The Walking Dead, Punisher from the Punisher Netflix show, he's the main bad guy, and he brought his dog Bam Bam with him, which was a good girl, good boy, whatever.
Yeah, that dog was like super mellow considering how many people were like screaming and cheering and stuff like that. He's just laying down while he's talking.
Just laid down, and then as soon as he started talking, he just like turned his head away and went to sleep. It was fantastic. That was the highlight of Ubisoft for me.
So the mobile game wasn't cool for you?
No. I mean, it didn't look bad.
Yeah.
But
the mobile game Tom Clancy's The Elite Squad. So it looks like it's just mixing a bunch of Ghost Recon, Division, Rainbow Six.
Sam Fisher.
Yeah, Sam Fisher. So all the Tom Clancy characters into like a mobile tactical RPG.
Yeah. It looked kind of XCOM-ish.
Yeah.
It looked cool. I mean, I'll probably try it. I try a lot of these mobile games. They never really stick with me.
Yeah. And then they did their whole Just Dance 2020 routine where they, brought a whole bunch of people on stage and had to dance around and did a whole bunch of stuff. The franchise is 10 years old.
Mm-hmm. Still coming to the Wii.
Yeah, and they showed up in the Wii. The Wii got as much space as like the PS4 or the Xbox. So that game has to sell like crazy on the Wii still.
I wonder if it's not necessarily the US or if it's other countries because like sometimes consoles come a little later in their life cycle, so maybe the Wii's still viable in some places. It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that was it. And then, like I said, I think I leaned over and said to you, like, this game just must print money at low cost. And you're like, it's just licensing.
Yeah, it's just music licensing. And if they already have a deal with, like, a record label, it's probably super cheap.
Right. So they just doesn't matter, I guess. I mean, whoever plays those games, like they showed some clips and some videos of the pre-show, and, like, people love that game.
Oh, there's a, like, very active Twitch community for Just Dance, and then some of the people in front of us were immediately like they recognized the dance that was being done,
right, and
started to do the dance in their seat, which you totally can do because you're just using your hands in Just Dance. So
and then they briefly showed some For Honor stuff. I really wish For Honor would get a PvE mode.
Yeah,
the game looks so
this
cool.
might be PvE, it looks like, because it's like this like boss type character in there.
Hopefully they get to it. But it's called Shadow of
Hadaru or
Hidaraki or something like that. So like a samurai style thing that I definitely don't think I can pronounce. And then literally as I was leading over to you and saying I wish these games in Rainbow Six would get like a PvE mode, they come out and say Rainbow Six Quarantine. I wrote down 2-player co-op. You were telling me it's more. It's 3. Okay. So it's 3-player co-op, and then it's essentially the new creative director came out. I missed her name, and she pretty much said what Rainbow Six Siege is to PvP, Rainbow Six Quarantine will be to PvE co-op.
Which is promising.
Yeah.
I'm interested in this because I'm just like you. I'd rather play a PvE co-op experience. It seems like it's probably going to be zombie-esque because it's like you're infected.
They showed something on his arm, like climbing up his arm or something like that. So. But it looks cool. I don't even think they put even a window on it. It just said it's a thing.
2020.
2020.
2020. Okay. I thought they said 2020. We could be wrong. We will find out.
While you look that up, we'll move in. So then they brought out the Division 2 to the stage. So June 13th to the 16th. So pretty much like this weekend coming up, you can play the Division 2 for free. Mm-hmm. And then episode 1 is coming in July. So this is the beginning of their post-launch content that they talked about. Of all of it, if you have purchased the Division 2. The first year of content is 100% free, and they're bringing out episodes. So, briefly, episode 1 in July, new main missions, new game experience, going outside so new main, like the episodes are new main missions. I think I missed the how detailed they got about episode 1. But you're going to go outside of the city. Yeah, so episode 1, you're going outside of the city into like a presidential area, like somewhere like similar to like maybe what I think is like Camp David.
Yeah, that was a presidential like stronghold. They said so. It probably would be something like that.
Yeah, and then like in episode 2, you're gonna like do some stuff with like a zoo encounter, and then episode 3, you're gonna be taking over a military convoy. So I either wrote this stuff down incorrectly or I misunderstood what they were saying. So they've also talked about in one of the episodes a lot of you're actually going to go into the Pentagon that the Black Tusk have taken over, and then the second 8-player raid is coming this fall. And then episode 3 is when you're going to engage in a manhunt. And they showed a trailer for that, but I still didn't really understand. Like I'm assuming that you're going to go after some relatively prominent character that changed, but I don't really, playing through the campaign and stuff like that, I can't recall a character right now that you might be doing. It might be a White House NPC, or something like that. So, but that's going to come in early 2020, the 3rd episode. The second episode, they're hoping to release in like September, October, and the first one is in July.
Yeah. I just checked for quarantine. I just keep saying Q1 2020 from different websites, so early 2020.
Yeah, so that's cool. And then they weren't done with the Division. They announced the Division movie, which I must have totally missed that this was even a thing.
I remember. So it was revealed that they were looking into making it a movie when Division 1 came out.
Okay.
And Jake Gyllenhaal was assigned to that pretty soon after it was like announced that they were looking into it.
And then they did the reverse of Apple, and they said it's coming to Netflix.
Yeah, which made everyone significantly more happy because everyone has Netflix.
Yeah. And then they went on to their subscription service, Uplay Plus, which is their subscription service coming to PC. It looks like it works with Stadia.
Yeah, I don't know if it works through Stadia or it's just a service you can add on top of Stadia.
Yeah. It's $14.99, and the first thing that you said when you saw the $14.99?
They don't have a library enough to support $15 a month.
The only thing that I saw that I thought would maybe support this was the fact that like if you pick it up in September, like when Ghost Recon Breakpoint comes out and all these other games come out, you get the full version of the game, like the Elite Gold Edition or something like that. So you get all the DLCs and things like that. So as their stuff is coming out, maybe it becomes worth it. But I mean, like right now when we were talking about what's on there, like going backwards, it's probably not.
Yeah, there's not enough in their back catalog. It might be worth it as long as they let you pick up 1 month at a time and don't do the thing that some subscription services do where they like lock you in for 3 or 6 months.
Right.
If it's just you can just get a month and be done with it, then yeah, there's value because a lot of games, we move on after a couple weeks.
Right. You and I talked about it, like, let me spend $15 and I'll play Assassin's Creed 3, 4, and 5, or 3, 4, and Odyssey or whatever, and then I'll pay for 2 months and then I'll stop, and then I'll pick it up when Breakpoint comes out or something like that, and then all my friends want to play. So.
It works in that aspect, but it's just like with all these different subscription services, it's just there's only so much money out there someone can give up to that.
There's only so much money out there, and there's only so many games you can play at one time.
Yeah, But if depending on how they do the $14 a month, if they make you buy multiple months, and it's just like that would shoot themselves in the foot. But I wonder if but it's only PC,
right?
So it won't eat into their console market, so we don't have to worry about this for a little bit.
Yeah. And then they brought, I didn't catch his name. He was a director on the early Assassin's Creed games.
I didn't catch his name.
And then they revealed God and Monsters,
which look cool.
Greek mythology, essentially,
mythology.
Mythology in general. The pitch that they had was that the gods would help us, and what happens when the gods need help. and this was this character that you played at, and they showed him like I kind of got, I know it sounds crazy, but I kind of got a little bit of like a Kid Icarus vibe.
No, I did too, because character design totally has that look.
And he was fighting like a big dragon beast or flying thing or something. And then they dated, like they didn't really show anything. They showed a brief, like I think it was like 30 seconds, maybe a minute trailer, which mostly focused on like the environment. Yeah. And then the character was shown. This game is coming out in February.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's very soon for something that we hadn't even like. There wasn't even really even like leak or speculation of this at all.
I imagine it would be kind of. It's not going to be on the big grand level of other Ubisoft games, but I could see it on like the level of like a Mario Rabbids sort of thing, not like a gigantic budget game. So I could totally see them pumping out in February, though they might want to move that based on all the release dates we've seen and easily get buried.
Put it in like July where it's like a little calmer.
Yeah.
So that ended the press conference, and you immediately said at the end of the press conference, no Skull and Bones, no Beyond Good and Evil.
Yep.
No Splinter Cell.
No Splinter Cell, and then no Assassin's Creed. We knew Assassin's Creed.
But no even little like name or teaser or like maybe even like a huge pull away of like where they're going or anything like that, you know?
They could have, in that Assassin's Creed Symphony, could have easily at the end just showed a little flash of like the next location.
Because what are the rumors for the next location? Has anything leaked? Was it Africa?
I think there was some Africa leak, but every time an Assassin's Creed game happens, there's so many like fake leaks of just locations people want. And last time there was a bunch of those leaks, we ended up just getting those like side-scrolling games.
Right. Yeah.
They just like burn like the wish list. But yeah, no Splinter Cell. Like, I mean, Sam Fisher is going to be in the mobile game.
Yeah, and then they did some stuff before, like on Twitter a couple months ago, where like Julian Garrity, like the director of Division 2, was saying that he was working with like director of Far Cry, and they were, you know, like they were kind of, and then he's like, wait, how do I delete this? So I think they're aware that something is going on, that they need to do something with Splinter Cell, but I don't know if they know what they want to do right now.
Yeah, I guess they have so many different big games that kind of go into the Splinter Cell like type world, like Division would cover some of that genre. That Splinter Cell would do.
Division's been teasing a lot of Splinter Cell stuff, and then he was like, you could actually do some stuff in Ghost Recon that was Sam Fisher-esque.
Yeah, so. They have a lot of games that cover that Sam Fisher area, but that's still too good of a franchise to just leave in the back burner. And Skull and Bones,
I feel like with Skull and Bones, they delayed the game, which we understand. Like maybe show like sort of why you delayed the game because you're doing this.
That's all I wanted. Like I'm not like completely shocked that it's not there because it was delayed like two months ago.
Yeah.
They came out and delayed it, but give me something that's like, hey, it still exists. We didn't bury this.
Especially when they spent so much time on it a couple of years ago, even last year I think. Like,
there was like 2 years where they
spent a huge amount of time on it, and like that's fine. But just like now, I wonder like. I was really intrigued by it, and you know have heard me talk about it and stuff like that. But like that's when something like gets forgotten.
And I'm worried that's kind of what they're gonna do because maybe it's just not working out, and if they just keep ignoring it, people will forget about it. It'll turn into like Agent, where it's just a person will ask a random question.
Yeah, but was Agent ever playable?
No.
Yeah, like I've played this game.
Yeah, Skull and Bones is playable for like 2 years in a row. So
like I've played it. I think they've got a little bit too much invested in it just to be like, go away.
Yeah, but then again, if they just use that tech, this Skull and Bones is using like Black Flag, technology, and then they just use whatever they did in Skull and Bones, and then an Assassin's Creed game just uses whatever they did with Skull and Bones. Ubisoft will be pretty good at recycling stuff if they need to. But yeah, I don't know. What did you think overall?
It was alright. They showed the first gameplay we saw, but like you had mentioned too, like we didn't see any gameplay for Ghost Recon.
No, which was weird.
Yeah, and considering they just showed gameplay of it a couple months ago at the reveal, and then they showed gameplay at Watch Dogs, and Watch Dogs comes out after Ghost Recon, so it was really confusing in terms of what they were showing. I feel like that they have the ability to surprise people, and they necessarily didn't. I think that the biggest surprise was the depth of Watch Dogs Legion. Yeah, but that'll be left.
And it started the show, and then after that, I felt like it just kind of went into neutral until the end.
Here's all of everything we're doing for all of our other games.
Yeah, and then when it ended and we just saw everyone getting on stage, it was like, okay, I guess we're done here.
Yeah, I mean, I'd been to a couple other Ubisoft press conferences, so once I think I leaned over to you and said, once I saw the president or the owner on stage, I was like, okay, this is done.
Yeah, but when he came out, I was like, got one more game, and he did give us one game, but it was that the mythology game, and I was just like, I wonder. One more? Because that looked cool, but I don't know if that was like a showstopper.
Right. Yeah, for sure. I don't feel like God Monsters was something that you end your you end your show with. So.
Yeah.
At least without showing more. So, all right. So then we're gonna move on to Square Enix.
Yeah, Square Enix, which we watched partially on our phone because we were jumping hotel to hotel during appointments, but. Square Enix started the show off with Final Fantasy VII Remake. They showed a lot of gameplay. We finally got to see like Tifa and I think Sephiroth at the end. Combat style is hack and slash with tactical slowdown in it, so you can do your normal hack and slash that you would do in other games. This is different, obviously. Original Final Fantasy did not have hack and slash. But you can go into like bullet time mode where you slow time down, and then that is where you can do strategy, equip items, heal yourself, and stuff like that. Looks cool. The game is gorgeous, and we already got the release date of 3/3/2020.
March 3rd,
yeah. What did you think of the gameplay?
I mean, it looks like Final Fantasy VII updated. I mean, like it's fine. There's been tons and tons of confusion. So this is only the Midgar stuff.
Yeah. So this is a problem I had with Square's press conference is they didn't give you a lot of information at the actual event. It was press releases afterwards. So this is a 2 Blu-ray disc game, but those 2 Blu-ray discs is only for Midgard. And
how much content was Midgar originally on Final Fantasy VII?
It was a ton, because Final Fantasy VII, how many discs was that? 3? 4? Yeah. It was a good chunk of the game, but they're doing a little bit more with some of the gameplay, and they might be fleshing out some additional characters.
Percentage-wise, it's been so long since I played Final Fantasy, and I don't think I beat it, though. Is Midgar 60% of the story?
Is
it 40%?
I would say it's somewhere between the 40 and 60.
Okay.
So, somewhere in there,
how many? How many do you feel like they'll do Midgar and then they'll do something and then they'll do something? Or
I think they can only do 2. I don't think you can stretch this out because I don't think they're going to develop these super fast.
Right. Is there enough content in just Midgar to justify the $60 price point?
I hope so. I don't. It's been so long since I played it.
Yeah.
I think there could be, especially if they do some stretching.
Okay.
And flesh things out. I mean, the gameplay already is going to be a little bit more involved because you're a little more personal with the hack and slash stuff. You're actually controlling specific actions. But it's weird how they're doing it, and it sounds like it's going to be a full $60 game. There's already like a $200
I'll be honest with you, that cloud on the bike looks really cool.
It does. It's like $200-$300 or whatever. That is a full game, and they're using I like how they brag about it's going to take 2 Blu-ray discs, as if that really matters now, because most games are gigantic anyways, though I know Red Dead Physical technically came with a data disc.
Right.
And,
which has got to be what this is.
I hope so. It would be
it's
crazy.
Be the same system where it'll be nuts if you're sitting there in the middle of a cutscene or whatever and it's change to disc 2.
Yeah, but wouldn't that be the most Square Enix thing for them to do? Would be to be switch to disc 2, but I'm
change to disc 2 and it takes 6 hours to install.
Yeah, it's installed. Yeah.
You're right in the middle of a cutscene.
Or they tell you from beginning, install both discs now, come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm frustrated that they left that out there. It was a little confusion.
They're standing on stage. They have a chance to clear it up.
Yeah.
Somebody has a chance to verbally say what this is, because we were always is it episodic? They scrapped that team. They did all this other stuff, and things like that.
Yeah, and all they really said was it's going to take 2 Blu-ray discs, and that popped the crowd because it was a fan event. But they didn't answer enough questions during the show. But they at least had gameplay. A lot of gameplay.
Right.
Barrett needs to shut the fuck up. Oh my god, did you see how much he talked during that
a couple times that I popped my headphones in and stuff like that, they were talking a lot about the HUD and stuff like that.
Oh no, not the I'm talking about the character.
Oh, okay.
There is a scene where Cloud and him are fighting like a giant like spider mech, and the entire time he's just chatty as all hell, and is just
Where's the mute Barrett option?
Yeah, he was so quippy, and it was just like, oh my god, I hope I can mute him because he was so talkative, which was weird, but it's fine. It's just like a small nitpick I had. But after that, we got a Life is Strange 2 like recap of the entire season. It seemed like it spoiled.
Yeah, I was asking you that when I was watching it because like that was the first time, to be fully honest with you. Like I know you've talked about Life is Strange and how much you enjoy it.
Yeah.
That was the first time I had probably ever looked at more than like 30 seconds of any of it.
Yeah, that and it was just saying like, you know, play it today. It's just like it's been out. It wasn't really an announcement for anything new. It was just like
I didn't understand what that was, like why that was there, other than them saying like here's the complete version of the game. Like,
and it's critically acclaimed basically. But that was weird. Then after that we had Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles.
Mobile, right?
It's a remake of the GameCube game for iOS and Android. Then we had Octopath Traveler trailer, which I guess was the announcement that it's coming to PC, which I hope that would mean maybe down the line we might get console, PS4.
Where is Octopath Traveler now?
Switch.
Oh.
But it might be forever exclusive to Switch, but it's coming to PC, so there's hope that it could happen. We might burn through these just because we're not the RPG guys. Then here comes a bunch of remastered.
Andy's going to be screaming at us on Twitch.
We got the last Remnant remastered, which I know of that game. It's a favorite game of a lot of people. But we got that coming, and then Circuit Superstars, which is like it's a little like top-down racer game. Looks kind of cute from
I missed that entirely. So.
Yeah, from like a team in Mexico. It looks like pretty interesting. Then we got Battalion 1944, which it's out on Steam in early access, I believe, and I think it's only on Steam right now.
Okay.
But it's a World War II shooter from Square.
Really?
Weird, but it exists. They must have acquired a studio that did this. Then we got an advertisement for Square Enix Music. All the Final Fantasy soundtracks that you can name are on
Spotify, and iTunes,
Amazon. They listed so many services that I want to go through that list just to see which services are still around or I never
find the one that's not listed on there and tweet out, look at him, he's doing my Zune.
You got 35 of these, but no Zune. And then Kingdom Hearts 3 Remind, which we think we talked about yesterday because it like leaked.
Yeah, at the event.
Yeah, which
when they were showing it, I didn't even realize it was Kingdom Hearts.
Oh yeah, because it's all the Organization 13 members. Yeah, it seems like it's going to flesh out the Organization 13 members, especially the ones that we saw towards the end of the game. No spoilers. And you might be able to play as Aqua and Roxas because it looks like they were moving around in your control. Then we got Final Fantasy 14 news. I completely kind of zoned out at this point. No offense to Final Fantasy 14. I just can never get into MMORPGs. I've tried. Then Dying Light had a bizarre trailer. It had really good music. It had metric help, which I love metric, so I'm fine. I love that. Again, we've established you put a good remix on your trailer, I will like it. But the trailer was literally everything I saw last year. Like, it almost went through, like, the entire demo that I saw last year, just cut up with music.
This is the second time in 2 days we've seen this game, and they're not showing anything.
Yeah, but I can confirm most of that stuff that you did see in that trailer was gameplay.
Okay.
But the way they shot it, or like the music, it made it seem like it was all cutscenes. I saw a lot of that stuff in that trailer last year in the demo. And hopefully it's playable this year. Because
last year was hands off for you, right?
It was hands off, but everything that they showed in that like half-hour demo was cut up into that trailer.
Okay.
Which, anytime I see that and it's like perfectly done, it always makes me think back to appointments of like, was that demo being played live? do they just have the rhythm down so much because they're doing like 100 demos within a 3-day span that they just don't do any like variants and just keep going.
Yeah.
Then we got a couple Saga games, and then I couldn't tell. I think those were like remakes, and then maybe a new one. I'm not too sure exactly what's going on with those, but they announced 2 of them. And then Final Fantasy Brave Exvius War of the Visions, which, God bless you, Final Fantasy, and your names of video games. But yeah, and then we had People Can Fly announced Outriders, which I feel like they showed the trailer twice, because they showed the trailer, brought out the head of People Can Fly, and then they showed it again, or I don't know if maybe my stream was just weird.
What else has People Can Fly made?
Bulletstorm, and then Gears of War Judgment.
Okay.
So, Bulletstorm was probably their good game. Gears of War Judgment was kind of okay. It's interesting to see them working with Square Enix, but the trailer didn't really show us anything. I mean, we know it's a shooter because it's People Can Fly, but it just didn't really have much personality, or at least I didn't find much in that trailer. It's definitely one of those things where they could have some gameplay or something other than a trailer with music to show some of the personality would have been very nice. And then Anaki is a like colorful RPG, and I think it's coming from the RPG initiative thing that Square Enix did.
Okay.
Where they made that studio just to make classic RPGs.
Nice.
But there wasn't a lot shown in here other than this is a game that's being worked on. I think this was one of the many. There was like a couple games that they just said at the end of the trailer, now in development. I think this was one of the ones that they just at the end of it said now in development, to say we don't have much to show, but we're working on it.
Please be excited.
Yeah. And then finally, Twitch chat was able to calm down.
Avengers.
And they showed Avengers. The trailer showed, looks like the Avengers are building a new headquarters in San Francisco, and something terribly goes wrong, and I think Captain America dies or something in that trailer.
I don't think so.
This is where I was confused, because Captain America was on the ship when it exploded, and then they brought people out on stage to introduce the cast, which we'll get to, and then they showed another cutscene where Bruce Banner and Iron Man are talking about failing someone, and it was 5 years later, and they all look broken as shit. So I was wondering if they were talking about failing Captain America because he was on that ship when it exploded, but then they went back out and then talked a little bit more about the game vaguely. But the cast includes Troy Baker and Nolan North, so we got an Uncharted 4 reunion because Troy Baker is Bruce Banner and Nolan North is Iron Man. I'm not too familiar with the other voice actors, though I'm sure if you told me what games they're from, I would immediately know who they are. But they have basically like the 5 voice actors in video games. I think Chandler from PlayStation Lifestyles tweeted that, of like, oh good, they got the 5 voice actors in video games, because those names were recognizable enough. Yeah. It's like, okay, that. But no gameplay. There might have been little snippets of gameplay in there when you saw Hulk jump down.
Yeah.
But what did you think, Dave?
I mean, it looks interesting. There's been a whole bunch of leaks about how this game was going to work. Like that was the biggest thing. I meing, it is 4-player co-op. They didn't really talk about like drop in or drop out, or how this is going to work if you're playing solo, which is always a concern. The thing that they were showing, like the events of, they kept calling it A-Day, which is Avengers Day, and then it fast forwards 5 years later.
Yeah.
So it's kind of similar to the story of like with the Avengers, like when they signed that thing where the Accordia or whatever that they signed in the movies, and they were like they're not allowed to do anything anymore, and things like that. They were like outlawed because they blamed them for it. That's the basic of the story, and then obviously something is happening over those 5 years where the story is based. I know that you were initially after you watched the trailer, you're concerned about how the characters look.
I don't, outside of the Hulk, I don't like any of the character designs. There's something about them that is just off to me.
It looks like they're using some face tech to where they're like these are the characters that they're voicing.
Yeah, which I
definitely Iron Man looks like Nolan North.
Yeah, I don't know if I like how the characters look.
Is it because of the movies?
That's where I'm like trying to like I just don't know if it's I don't like Thor's costume at all. I don't like the way it looks, and I don't like Captain America's costume at all because it looks kind of like the movie costume, but it's just like bulkier and weird looking.
And they said they had somebody from Marvel Studios on stage with the creative director for
Roseman or something.
Yeah, and this is completely Crystal Dynamics own story, own take, own Avengers arc.
I get that, but it's definitely one of those things where I think I just have, like, when I think of Captain America now, I don't think of the comic book version of Captain America. I think of Chris Evans.
Because it's been 10 years.
Yeah. So Same
thing with Tony Stark over Robert Downey Jr.
Like, Black Widow doesn't look like Scarlett Johansson, and I think in the back of my head that bothers me.
Yeah.
And I'll probably get used to that over time, but my initial, like, look of those characters, like the faces I didn't like, and stuff that can be fixed with cosmetic items we'll talk about possibly later. I can probably get a Cap suit that I like, potentially, but
or a Thor suit that you can tolerate.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, because it just looked like he just had like hubcaps on him. I didn't like that.
It's got to show his pecs, man.
No, but it was just like the weird little dishes on him, and it's just like I know that's like a Thor costume thing, but I've seen it done better.
Right.
But after they announced that post-launch content, which means region and characters, will be released for free.
But it's not a live service game.
It's weird. I guess they're just releasing like expansions with new characters.
They said they clearly said like no loot boxes, which is interesting in terms of like a game that I think that you have a really cool opportunity to have really interesting cosmetics.
Yes, alternate costumes. Yeah. We already saw 2 Iron Man costumes in that game alone.
Yeah, white one, right?
Yeah, the white his Guardians costume.
Yeah. And then additional heroes too. So like off the bat, it looks like it's Captain America, Hulk, Thor, Iron Man, and Black Widow.
Yeah, and they stretched that announcement out. It was so weird how you can tell they didn't have enough to show for it, but it's playable on the show floor. So that's where I was confused. Yeah. It's just like it's cool for the people on the show floor, but they stretched the announcement of what heroes you have. It's like, yeah, we know who the Avengers are, and they stretched that out. But it was a very weird way they presented this. You know, after going in depth with Final Fantasy, to then just go vague and stretch for Avengers at the end.
And then to say that it's coming out 2 months after Final Fantasy.
Yeah. It's
like you're looking at 60 days after Final Fantasy comes out, because it's like May 15th, 2020 is when we got the release date. And then, you know, I understand that we know that Final Fantasy has been in development for a long time.
Yeah.
So is this Avengers project. Like, we heard about this, like, 2 years ago, like when they were saying
it was like 2 years ago because
this is a thing.
Yeah, because last January is when they went on their hiring
right. Well, then they even announced like similar to my problem with some of this stuff. They even announced, hey, we signed a deal with Marvel. We're making a game.
Yeah, multiple games, and then they announced like the studios at Square working on the multiple games.
And then we have this, and then it comes out in less than a year from this. This is the first time it's leaked, and they said they've been working on it, but this is the first time where I can say like this game was officially announced, and then it's coming out in less than a year, which I love. But at the same time, like you don't really have, unless Square does another like Twitch stream or something like that later, you don't really have another opportunity where you have this large of an audience.
I'm guessing you do it playable at San Diego Comic-Con, you do it playable at New York Comic-Con, we'll probably get some panels, and then hopefully the public can see gameplay, because you're not going to see that much gameplay from the show that isn't off camera, unless they show it at like an IGN or a GameSpot.
Unless this thing ends up at whatever Sony is doing, because there is exclusive content coming to it for PlayStation.
Ideally, with character DLC, we would get Insomniac's Spider-Man in this game. If you're going to announce like your DLC plans are regions and characters, and you're going to have exclusive PlayStation DLC, it has to be. We already know the Avengers Tower is in like the New York Avengers Tower. They've hinted that he's worked with the Avengers before. And this is a direct, like
Insomniac Spider-Man is directly attached to Marvel.
Yes.
And then Avengers is now directly attached to Marvel.
Exactly. So. And Spider-Man's an original Avenger. He's not in this game.
And Sony owns
him. So it just makes perfect sense that... And they already showed, like, Hank Pym in the thing. So Hank Pym Ant-Man will probably be one of the
How do you think the community around this game would react, though? Like an Xbox gamer or a PC gamer, if there's a character and a story arc completely exclusive to one console?
I mean, they'll be pissed, but that's just how the business works. I mean,
I just feel like that is looking at that is being looked upon as like really, really bad right now. When you have something completely separate, like I think early access or 1 month early or 1 week early, or even like some of the stuff with Destiny, like 1 year early, like 1 year exclusivity versus like you can't play him at all.
So what they could do is just release a generic Spider-Man, and then the PlayStation fans get the white spider suit.
Yeah.
They get that Insomniac suit, and then that way Xbox people still get a Spider-Man character. You probably can't use the same voice actor then. But then PlayStation fans get the white suit or the white spider.
Or Insomniac items.
They get some of those costume designs from the Marvel Spider-Man from Insomniac. And that would be a way to solve that. Because, I could see Xbox people being like, fuck this, we don't have Spider-Man, but just put the Sam Raimi suit on both consoles, but then the PlayStation fans get... Yeah,
I just feel like that in this day and age, I don't know if they can actually do like that much content exclusively on one platform.
Which is why I think most of their DLC is going to be cosmetic.
Yeah.
Like, they said microtransactions won't be in there, but they said microtransactions play to win.
They said no play to win. They said no loot boxes. I don't think they said no microtransactions.
Okay, cool. So no loot boxes, no play to win. So microtransactions will probably be in it, and it's going to be costume related, which I'm fine with. Yeah. I don't mind cosmetic, and there's so many cosmetics they could do for each character.
Oh yeah.
So that kind of excites me. Sadly, that it would be like costumes for me to buy, but I hopefully like the game. Mm-hmm. I got to try and play it this week, but I have a feeling that booth is going to be destroyed.
So that was the 2 press conferences yesterday. Mm-hmm. Briefly, we will go over the few things that we saw yesterday. We can start with games.
Yeah.
We saw the games case, so GAEMS. Glenn has reviewed the Vanguard case before. That's on the website. We saw
Sentinel.
The Sentinel, which it looks like it's just a slightly bigger monitor than the Vanguard. Mm-hmm. And they don't go above 19-inch. Is pretty much what we learned.
Yeah, they try not to. They could, but that's a sweet spot for them is the 19-inch. And the Sentinel is just like lighter case, kind of more compact because it doesn't have that odd shape the Vanguard had, because the Vanguard had like an oval type shape. And
so these are portable monitors that can house your console. Mm-hmm. So like you can they fold up into a briefcase. Like if you don't know, again, Glenn has one. He's talked about it. You've probably seen it on some of the extra life streams and things like that. Mm-hmm. And then we we just saw a couple of those cases, some of the iterations, and they talked about some of the stuff that they have plans for the future in terms of like just little things like better speakers, better cooling, better, like how things like he was very interested about the external hard drive like set up to where he can put, they can stick the external hard drive somewhere safely. So he was saying a lot of their consumers like will have like their console at home and then this goes with them, or they take one of them with them. They showed something like really cool that they're working on that we can't really go into super detail about, but like almost like a portable PC.
Yeah, it's they're very much saying, like, we're not going after the laptop market, we're going after the desktop market, but for people on the go, which was very cool and interesting, has potential. Definitely something streamers can get into because it's a portable studio, potentially.
Yeah, they had places for, like, mounting your webcam and mounting your mic and multiple USB ports built into really, really good speakers. Like, they were, on there. And then the biggest thing is, like, it was like, oh, let's just take a laptop. But this is actually, like, a PC that sits in this box that you can then change parts out as needed. Yeah. Versus a laptop, which is a compact, closed shell.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it's a portable studio that's customizable. And I guess... I mean, I have heard it before talking to some friends that I know that stream it, that go to these events, that when they're at these events, they lose dozens, if not hundreds of subscribers because they're not streaming every day because they're at an event. And this is kind of the thing that will help that market. But also people that do a lot of work and need a powerful computer but don't want to compromise with a laptop, because you do make compromises with laptops, where you couldn't get a laptop that can be like a fully souped up desktop, but it's usually heavy as hell and you're missing little things.
Power, and then like I know we have a couple people in the community that like travel, like a guy that I play Destiny with, Reef. He he does a lot of traveling. Like he does like airport repairs, I think, and so he's told me multiple times that he runs into situations like hotels or places he's staying at where the TV's mounted directly in the wall or directly in a cabinet, or even like the HDMI ports are covered up and things like that.
Yeah,
and then this is a way for you to just have it. And then the biggest thing, at least with the Vanguard and the Sentinel, is that this fits underneath the seat of the plane or in the overhead compartment.
Yeah, he said the Vanguard particularly wouldn't quite fit because of the shape. He said you could do it, but you wouldn't want to. But the Sentinel can. Was it called the Sentinel?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The Sentinel can fit under your seat, which was nice.
So, and that was really, that was very cool to see that kind of stuff. Just the tech and, how the screens work and how the game looks and everything like that.
And just the passion of we talked to the co-founder and then one of the, engineers, I guess we could say. And they were very passionate and proud of their work, which is always nice to see.
Yeah. And then we went and saw Pacer.
Yeah, Pacer, which at first glance
is Wipeout, but not Wipeout.
Is Wipeout. Pacer seems like an evolution of.
All my notes are on that.
Oh yeah. Pacer is an evolution of the Wipeout experience. It's a futuristic shooter that Dave was very impressed that it was running 64K. Was it 4K?
So they stressed heavily about on the PS4 Pro, Xbox One S, and PC, it can do 4K, 60 frames a second.
Yes.
On the PS4 non-Pro, it still does 60 frames a second.
Still does 60, and we played it. It runs smooth. We didn't notice any hitches. They seem to be building out little things that I would have wanted from a Wipeout game in a modern age as opposed to a remaster. You have complete customization of your vehicle in terms of what weapons you want and the ship design. The weapon thing is very important to me just because there's there's frequently in a race the weapon drops in Wipeout would be randomized. So you would run into situations where you kind of need one specific weapon and you wouldn't get it. This, now you have a little bit of strategy of what type of weapons you want to have equipped to your thing, and then when you go over the weapon pickup, it just replenishes that weapon.
Because you can pick the ship or the craft that you want.
Yes.
And then over time, you can actually completely customize a loadout for that craft.
Yeah, and there's different teams or corporations in the game, and that gives you access to different types of vehicles, and also there'll be side missions, basically, for a team. One team might say don't damage our vehicle. Another one would be we need you to destroy as many vehicles as you can in the race. So there's a little bit more depth to the team element, to where picking a team isn't anything more, because in Wipeout picking a team was just who has a cooler logo, and maybe the ship the body of the vehicle is a little bit different. This one, there seems to be a little bit more personality, and they mentioned lore, but they didn't talk about how they deliver the lore into the game. So I'm hoping there's some nice execution there. But they're going to have a rank system. They kept talking about their ELO and ranking for online play. Do you remember a little bit more about their ELO system?
They talked about some skill management, skill-based matchmaking and things like that, where as you race, they're going to move you up and down based on how you finish or how things work, and and how you get credits for damaging, if you destroy a vehicle or finish a race, you get credits. Those credits can be used to purchase things on your system. But I even specifically asked them, I know you've talked about Overwatch does placement matches.
Yes.
And it seems like this game wants to go super competitive, in terms of leaderboards and leagues and things like that. But it's you could run 1 or 2 races and you do really well, and it moves up your ELO, and you're going to move up into a different bracket of racing, and then you're going to do 2 races. You don't do good, you might move back down. So it seems like it's going to be very intuitive. And then even while you're trying to practice or train the adaptive AI that they talked about, trying to the AI is going to evolve and adjust to how you drive.
Yeah, which the AI was adjusted for terrible playing because a bunch of media people were going to be playing the game. So that's good that the game will potentially be able to grow with you as you earn, skills.
It looks super deep in terms of all the crafts, or different ships, different crafts, and even customizable stuff, and then loadouts of where I just wonder, like, when you're in like a league play, like if you're going to know the track you're going to beforehand, and then know that if I'm on that track, I need this car or ship, and I want this loadout based on that track.
Yeah.
And they talked a lot about the tracks having, forward and reverse function, like so it's like 4 tracks in one.
Yeah, 4 tracks in one. Yeah.
So forward, reverse, and then mirrored forward and reverse.
Yes. So. Yeah, which was it like 14 base tracks and then that mirrored reverse stuff on top of it.
Yeah, and then he was very like not even including day and night. Like the track could look differently. I guess look differently at night and then mirrored reverse. But he's like you could really say like technical 8 variants of each track.
Yeah, and then what I thought was really cool is there's different terrain. Wipeout games tended to be. Remember the dust?
Oh yeah.
Dust track. Yeah. Typically in like Wipeout type games, and it's one of those things where I try not to say Wipeout too often, but they also knew that like
they know what it is.
When you first see the game, you're going to think Wipeout, and there's some people from that studio or the former Wipeout developers on this game. Not a lot, but there was a couple that were on there, and there's also some MotorStorm pedigree as well.
Mm-hmm.
But in Wipeout, you just had the track. Like just the same type of track all the time. One of the levels had just normal road, but then also would go into like a dirt road. And I know you, Dave, were like kind of impressed with some of that stuff.
As fast as it was moving, and it was still giving off like that dirt trail, and then it made me ask another question, which I don't think anybody asked on that day. But like you can draft in this game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you can draft and slingshot yourself in this game and things like that. So like in terms of it feels like they thought of a lot of things. Like maybe I don't play any Wipeout, and I barely play any racing games, but it feels like the stuff that you were looking for to evolve in Wipeout and the stuff that I was looking for from just a basic racing game style is all there.
Yeah, they seem to have something that could be really, if they can nail like the team stuff and they can nail the online stuff, they could have something really good here that will work for both of us in terms of just a regular racer.
And one of the speed settings they showed on that was like ridiculously moving.
Yeah, he didn't even show us the highest one. He only showed us like.
He didn't show us a lead. He showed us 1, 2, and 3,000.
Yeah, and it moved really fast.
Yeah, and then you got to play it, and the first thing, and I played it too. I sucked at it, but like you played it, and the first thing that you said when you were done was like, "It works. It's smooth."
Yes, yeah, that was immediately just. Because it's one thing seeing a trailer.
The controls are a little funky in terms of like, I mean, for me, like, because I'm used to like racers, again, like other racers, like gas and acceleration is on the triggers, and then this one is on the facelift, and then the triggers are
air brakes
and firing.
So. Yeah, which is kind of the standard Wipeout thing. Wipeout has always been gas on
X.
Played
enough of it, so.
Yeah, and the air brakes are on the triggers. Yep. So. But I was really impressed with that, and they seem passionate about it. And they're working with Cold Storage, who
the music were really cool.
He did some tracks for Wipeout, I believe. And
he said like 50 tracks on this game, like 50 music or 45 music.
They said like 20. I think they said like 26, but they might have said there was a little bit more.
I think he said that like he kind of hinted at it, like there's more that they're working on.
Yeah, they have 26 now.
That other guy that was talking was super quiet.
I know I have to go through my recording just for notes, but he had a ton of information on like the teams and leagues and stuff like that.
So I know you're definitely going to write this up. You're just waiting on some more assets from them.
Yeah, they're sending assets later this week. So, but I was really impressed. It was a good way to start like our hands-on gameplay of E3.
Right. And then after that, we went and saw Beyond Blue.
Yeah, Beyond Blue.
Which is Eidos.
What was No, it's I'm not too sure. Yeah. Beyond Blue.
The same people that did.
Eline Media is the publisher, and they're the same people that did Never Alone.
Yeah. So this one is an underwater exploratory game.
Mm-hmm.
You play as a character that like you're like 15 years in the future, and so the tech is a little bit more advanced than some of the stuff that you're using, and it's not you can't die in this game. It's purely like an exploration, learning, documentary style game, similar to Never Alone. right?
Yeah. Neveralone had like snippets of documentary, and it was about
so
lore.
You're underwater a lot. The one level that I got to play was you're underwater and you go to this buoy, you get information from the buoy, and it tells you to go scan like certain fish, and you're scanning fish or whales or dolphins, and you're learning about them, you're gathering information. I think you're tagging them so you can kind of track them a little bit.
Yeah, I think we saw a pregnant whale at one point, and then you find out it's pregnant. You're like, oh, let's tag that for later.
Yeah. So you and then apparently there's a lot of like you gather all this information and this intel, and you go back to your sub and you dump the intel into your sub, which is your base. And there's a little bit of character development there of like figuring out what you're going to do with the information, and you're learning from it. There's small like 2-minute documentary clips that they're entirely filming. And it's just their partnership with they have a partnership with BBC for this.
Yeah, then they're providing a lot of the research and documents.
So if you liked Neveralone, then I really think that you'll like this. It sounds like it's going to be about a 3-hour playthrough,
something like that.
But mechanically, like it worked well. Like in terms of like I didn't have a problem with like using the scanner and swimming, and it looked like underwater looked amazing.
Yeah, and we were just at the top layer because
I
go
think they
deep.
talk about 3 tiers.
Yeah,
and even to the unseeable tier where like you can't see.
Yeah,
so. And again, they emphasize like the first thing I saw was like there's not a scuba pack on this person, and they emphasized the tech being like they went to a lot of companies and said, hey, what would a scuba suit look like in 15 years? And it seems like it's like they've been able to redefine like how the air is moved, and which means you don't have a big tank. So it definitely was like really really cool in terms of like from a swimming aspect. And then if you're into like any kind of marine biology or anything like that, I think this would be really cool.
And there seems to be choices and narrative involved with your research in terms of you're doing all this research and you're basically going to give that research, or you have the choice of giving that research to different things. He said, like industrial reasons or like conservation, and based on what you do with your research, people will treat you differently. We don't know exactly what that would look like though, because we just did the swimming.
Right, and I don't really. They talked about that, like the narrative branching out, and like, but I mean, at the same time, I don't really know how far something like that could branch out, like in a 4-hour playthrough.
Exactly. Yeah, that's one thing that would be.
But it's kind of like they're like these companies are like moving on and they're evolving into like using video games as a learning tool as well. Like you get to do gameplay, you get to have fun, and then as you're doing this, you get to learn things, and maybe you don't realize that you just learned a whole bunch about marine biology while you're playing a game that's. So far felt relatively fun, and they talked about like encounters that you run into that you can become problematic, but not to the point where it can like harm you or kill you. Like you can't get eaten.
Yeah. Now he said there could be a mission where you get like chased back to your submarine, but it's not like super like aggressive. And then the other game we saw at Disappointment was the Endless Mission. Which it's PC only, or at least it looks like it will most likely forever be PC only, just because it is a like a Minecraft looking game, and it's a sort of thing where all the like how would you explain this game? It's just like you do specific things with the characters, like it will be wave-based combat. And you, on the fly, can hack the AI with different abilities that you have. And the point of the game, the hacking of the AI, is to then use that hacked AI, or that knowledge you build from hacking the AI and learning different mechanics, into just editing and building out the game for yourself. So they showed a in-depth level editor. It was made in Unity, and they said the level editor they built was not too far off from what building a game in Unity would be, though simplified. It looked really cool, but it's not coming to console just because you're going to be messing with the game engine. They won't allow something like that on PlayStation.
Right. It's like essentially modding it.
Yeah, but it looked interesting, and I'm sure people that are interested in that type of game will get super granular with everything and just build and turn crazy things out from that type of experience. But it was definitely interesting to see something like that.
All right, so that was Monday.
Yep, that was Monday, and we got a
full schedule today. So
yep.
Seems like you guys are a little bit like in the morning recordings, so more than the evening. So we'll see how tonight goes and things like that. But we will definitely we got some more stuff coming up. 3 more days of this. So we're gonna get ready and hit the floor. So I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yep. See ya.